Million Dollar Baby. This is a 2004 winner for Best Picture, starring Clint Eastwood, Hilary Swank, and Morgan Freeman, an unbeatable acting trio if there ever was one. This is a boxing drama which unfolds calmly and assuredly and unfolds in unexpected ways and has moments, some quiet, some not so quiet, that really take your breath away. This is a very moving drama. And I guess there is something about the sport of boxing which translates into these great dramatic films like Rocky, Raging Bull. There's something about the sport. As Morgan Freemator is... did I just say Morgan Freemator? I'm going to keep that in this video. Morgan Freeman, the narrator of the film, as he narrates, there's something unnatural about this. This is unlike life. This is something that just goes against every instinct that you should have. And it is this bizarre sport that is violent and unpredictable, and it goes with similar consequences to the nature of the sport. I know the movie it's over a decade old at this point, but I should probably just give you a heads up. I will be going into detail about the plot, so there are some things that if you don't know about, I will be talking about here. So if you want the short version of this review, this is a great movie. Definitely check it out. Clint Eastwood is very masterful in his direction here. Probably his best movie, in my opinion, his best directed movie specifically. Just a wonderful film that really, really grabs you. So definitely see it if you haven't. But moving forward, some warnings out of the way. Essentially what this is Clint Eastwood. He's the manager slash trainer slash cut man extraordinaire who maybe gets a little too personally into his boxers' lives and is very protective of them. He has one up-and-coming boxer, and at the beginning of the film, he's doing really well in the fights, and has a shot for the title that's been offered, but you're not ready, kid. A few more fights, that's it. I'll never do a Clint Eastwood impression again, sorry. But it's part of his downfall, because he's left, and that's pretty much how his life has turned out. He kind of shapes these boxers, teaches them everything they need to know, and then they go on without him. So he's kind of left with his gym, with his old buddy, played by Morgan Freeman, who he also trained and sort of managed, but there's a backstory there. And he just has this sort of undying allegiance to him, because he does kind of get into their lives a little bit too much. And he would seem, as any Clint Eastwood role would seem, as a very gruff and hard shell exterior kind of grump, but he is an old softy. We do learn a little bit along the way that there is a past to this character, aside from his professional sports involvement, that is haunting him. Something this went on with his daughter, some kind of conflict there where they haven't spoken in years, and all his letters get returned to sender, and they're estranged. So there's something going on there. He goes to church every day. He basically pesters his priest so much that it's sort of amusing, the scenes with the priest, where he just always is asking them these kind of provocative questions that just piss the priest off. He's like, you know what the answer to that is, you fucking pagan. Like, the priest just gets pissed off. He's like, look, I'm just asking you a question. I said I'd never do it again. It doesn't even sound like him. But anyway, yeah. So another thing that the priest says to him is, a man doesn't come to church every day of his life without feeling that he can't forgive himself for something. So there is something in the past. But I think what makes the movie work a little bit well a little bit better than if there were certain changes, certain additions that would have been made to the screenplay, to the story, is that we don't get this big, long, sappy story about what happened. It leaves us to our imagination because we think, well, what could this man have done? He seems like a nice guy, a nice enough old softy, old grump, but something must have happened there, so it's left to our imagination. There's not like this big scene like in, like Home Alone, where the old man's talking to Macaulay Culkin. Oh, my son and I had a fight, and I don't even remember what it's about. I should give him a call. No, nothing like that. It's definitely something a little bit more serious. But anyway, Maggie, she comes into the gym. She wants to be trained by Clint Eastwood, or his character, I forget his name, Freddie something. He's like, I don't train girls. Did it again. She is so determined to be trained by him because she sees something in him. She sees that he's the best, and herself. I mean, she's an underdog, and this is kind of what the story is. It's like an underdog kind of story, where she comes from nothing. She's dirt poor. She's waiting tables. She's picking up the scraps from tables, saying, "Oh, they're from a dog." She wants to achieve this greatness, and she thinks she can get that through this trainer. So she's determined. She's very, very insistent on being trained by him, very, very adamant about it, until finally he caves. And that's what this movie is about. It is about their relationship as they train, and as she moves up in the ranks of boxing, and eventually does achieve greatness, where she's fighting these big fights, making lots of money. People are calling her name, or, well, not her name, but the nickname that Clint made up for her, Babushka. Or no, that's the dance from the Addams Family. Magushla, which we, kind of what plays through as the movie. What's that mean, boss? And, we find out at the end. But so it's all about that. And what it is a love story. They make it very apparent, and they don't kind of make it implicit in any way. They very much say it right off the bat, which I think is fair, because everyone's kind of thinking it. He reminds her of her father, who she's estranged from. He had died. She reminds him of his daughter. So it is a love story about these two kind of outcasts, these two underdogs, kind of making it big. But in this unpredictable world, this violent world that is just so unnatural, bad things happen, and there is a fight where this dirty fighter knocks her out, when her back is turned, and she falls onto the stool, breaks her neck, becomes paralyzed. So that's the final act of the film, is that struggle, and how they came all this way, and this is where they are. And it's melodramatic. It certainly is, but in the best possible kind of way, in the most careful and considerate kind of way that Clint Eastwood is able to give us, which is almost the opposite of what something like Mystic River was. Mystic River was so incredibly over the top, also in a good way, but this is a little quieter. The best moments of this movie, and the most emotionally provocative moments of the movie are very quiet moments. Not so much when sad things happen, but when good things happen, that you realize that you are invested in these characters. You really like this character. You feel that you're there with Maggie. You feel her pride, and you feel Clint Eastwood's pride in her. And I think that is beautiful. But it does take the tragic turns. And what basically it boils down to, though it's not the main message of the movie, the main agenda of the movie, is that Maggie, in her journey to reach this height, to reach this greatness in sports, and to achieve what she wanted to achieve, and having it done, now being stuck completely immobile, she wants to die. She asks to be euthanized, and it's his struggle to decide, is this the right thing to do? And I don't think it's a movie that outright would condone or condemn it. It's character based to these characters and the decisions that they make, and the drama that unfolds there. So it does become this big conflict in the final act of the movie. So maybe some people would criticize it for that, but I don't think it endorses euthanasia or anything like that. But it is more character based, and there's a certain logic to the way the movie unfolds and how it unfolds. And I absolutely understand other criticisms of the movie too. Like we have Maggie's family, who's a very stereotypical kind of redneck jerkwad kind of family. They're basically caricatures, but I think we don't want them in the movie too much. I don't think so. We don't want to really develop them, but it serves the point of this character. They're an extension of the Maggie character, and we see the glimpses into her past and why she had wanted to be where she is right now at that point, and ultimately the resentment she feels towards them, and how these two people, trainer, boxer, they're the two people in each other's lives who they can count on. And I don't know, I really do think it's really, really well done. I really do. And of course, Morgan Freeman, he's kind of the mediator between the two. He is fantastic in this movie. If nothing else, if you have any kind of problems in the movie, if you have any problems with the final act, if you have any problems with some characters that come off as cliche, if you have any problems with Paul Haggis's screenplay, if nothing else, this is the movie that won Morgan Freeman a fucking Oscar, which is just A+ in my book. Finally, Morgan Freeman won an Oscar, and for a movie that he narrates as well. And his narration is great, really kind of like salt of the earth, kind of poetic kind of twang to it, which I really liked. And what I really liked about the movie is that we hear him narrating the story, and a narration could be anything. It could be, it's from his point of view, obviously. But what we find out, and what I found, was just the final masterstroke in this movie, was that it was a letter to Clint Eastwood's daughter, Frankie's his name, a letter to Frankie's daughter, which I think is, that's the final masterstroke, and so beautifully written in the narration. Morgan Freeman delivers it so well. He has great moments in this movie. Like there's a moment in the diner where he does kind of reveal the backstory between him and Frankie, and kind of what happened to his eye. And of course, he has like probably the best moment in the movie where, there's a kind of a subplot where Jay Baruchel, he plays this, kind of over the top string bean, wants to be a boxer. He's like, I can take on and fight with anybody. Meanwhile, Anthony Mackie, before he was flying around Captain America being a good guy, he was a big bully who's, beating him up. And, before that scene, Morgan Freeman, Scrap Iron is his nickname, he had told the story about, a certain fighter has a certain amount of fights. My number was 138 or whatever number it was. Then he intervenes when Jay Baruchel's character is being beaten up. He beats the shit out of Anthony Mackie. He's like, well, guess it's 139. So good. Get a job, kid. I love it. But yeah, great performances all around. Hilary Swank's performance is just perfect, I think. I mean, we see that joie de vivre, and we feel so great for this character, and we feel so conflicted, just as Frankie does when she makes that decision, when she asks that of him, which is just an impossible thing to ask. So I mean, that really plays up the drama well, even if it is, maybe a little bit over the top. She's perfect, and obviously she committed to this role. She fucking, you look at her, she could kick my ass. So it's not like one of those actory kind of things where you have to suspend your disbelief. No, she absolutely sells it as this boxer. And Clint Eastwood, this is probably, I would say, I mean, I think of all his great roles, I mean, he's a legendary actor, but this might be his best role. It was kind of a surprise that he was actually nominated for Best Actor that year. He didn't get too many of the other precursors. Like, we had a lot of great actors that year, like Leo DiCaprio for The Aviator, For Ray, Jamie Foxx, he won, but to nominate Clint Eastwood, I thought that was I think that was a nice addition. He didn't win. Hilary Swank won for Best Actress. Morgan Freeman won for Best Supporting Actor. He didn't win for actor, but he won for Best Director. So it's nice that this trio they all got the gold for this movie, because I do think it's a great movie. It's really well made, and the boxing scenes are really good, feel really genuine. Dramatic scenes are played out very well, and also very genuine. I mean, you can accuse it of melodrama, but life can be melodramatic sometimes. What can you say? I think it's filmed in a very nice way as well. It's a dark movie. A lot of like dark, grimy gym scenes, where you kind of see half encumbered by shadow in a lot of the scenes. But I think that works really well. I think it was David Fincher who said, when I think some people were saying that Fight Club was a little too dark, was I think we see too much of actors' eyes in movies. I wanted to kind of fix that a little bit. So the same can be said of this movie. And also because it is shadowy and dark, I mean, you can make an argument that, well, this is the Morgan Freeman character. It's his recollection. So maybe recollections are a little half in shadows, and it's not the complete story. So there's that to consider as well. So I watched this again recently. I remember seeing it in theaters, and it really hit me. I mean, I knew nothing. I would hope that anybody going into this movie doesn't know how it plays out, because I don't want to say spoilers or anything because it's not about spoilers. It's about the experience of watching this movie, watching this drama unfold, and in the way that it does, I think it serves the characters well, serves the story well, and I don't think it necessarily makes cheats of that in a melodramatic sense. So that's my opinion. So I think it's a great movie. Clint Eastwood, I think it's his best movie. He is a great director. You think of his body of work just as a director alone, and he's really never made the same movie twice. He's always trying something a little bit new. This has to be his best work to date. The guy's still working. American Sniper is nominated this year for an Oscar, so there's that to consider. But I guess the question I always ask at the end of these videos, did it deserve to win Best Picture? That's hard to say. I mean, watching it again, I think it holds up. I was, again, really emotionally involved in the movie. It really hit me once again, because I hadn't seen it in a while. But I don't know, I really like The Aviator. I really like Sideways, too, which I hope to review this month as well. But I'm definitely happy that it won all the awards, that the great trio in Freeman and Swank and Eastwood, they all left this project with the little gold guy. So that's my review. I know this isn't the most loved movie, but in retrospect, I think when you look at Eastwood's work to date, I do think it's his best. So comment below. Let me know what you think of $1 Million Baby. Subscribe to me if you haven't already, and give me a thumbs up if you're so inclined to do so. Stay tuned for more 31 Days of Oscar reviews. Have plenty more to come this month, so you can look forward to that or not. But until then, I'll see you later.